Hey, Virginia Schmidt here, founder of Divinity School and spiritual writer, speaker, and student teacher. So today I wanted to talk about some things that I've been listening to in The Way of Mastery. And The Way of Mastery, you can find it as well on the YouTube channel, Giving Voice to the Wisdom of the Ages. Such a phenomenal, another channeled book. So just like A Course in Miracles and A Course of Love were channeled through Yeshua or Jesus, so was The Way of Mastery. And just a wonderful note on this idea of channeling. So A Way of Mastery actually said something that I really loved as far as conceptualizing what angels are. So he said, our friends, the angels, who are just these energy beings that aren't currently embodied. And right now I'm also reading The Seed of the Soul by Gary Zukov, which I would highly recommend if you haven't read it. And his first book that he published was all about quantum physics. And learning about quantum physics prompted him to write his second major bestseller, but in a very seemingly different vein, about spirituality. And he talks a lot about how when we begin to see as multi-sensory humans rather than just five-sensory humans, that's our next evolution, and that is to see ourselves as these, that we know that energy can be neither created nor destroyed, and that energy is all there is. So therefore, this awareness of the energy we are must have been forever and go on forever. And I find that really, we find this in every great religion as well, this idea that the soul never dies. So I think before A Course in Miracles, and really before having my own deep meditation practice and kind of having this spiritual awakening, I would have found the idea of something being channeled really like, oh, that's not possible. But now it's like, well, I'm beginning to identify more and more as my own soul and spirit and this energy that I am rather than this body. So this body is just like a vehicle, right? It's like, I like to think of my body as my earth rover. So the idea that we can channel other energies, or the energy, the ideas and the expression of other personalities, the same way that my own energy that I am is channeling the personality of this body, that seems totally understandable to me. So it's been interesting how the more I go within, the less I become identified as a five-sensory human, and the more I'm becoming identified as a multi-sensory human. And the idea of vision, inner spiritual vision, and channeling these visions and channeling this energy. Another person I love that I love to listen to, and it's obvious that the truths of this are lining up with, again, a lot of the timeless spiritual teachings and texts, is Abraham Hicks and Esther Hicks. So anyway, The Way of Mastery, I just wanted to share a couple of lessons that have been really helpful for me lately. And again, I would go check it out. It's the teachings I find to be more accessible as well, probably, than A Course in Miracles, as far as, again, A Course in Miracles is very cerebral. And The Way of Mastery is a bit more almost playful, I would say. Like, I laugh out loud sometimes. And I think that that's a good energy to bring to life every day, that playfulness, because this physical experience is a bit of a game. Nothing here can actually hurt us, not who we really are, not our souls. Nothing here can touch our souls. But we're here in this divinity school of life, if you will, this classroom, to work back to that remembrance and that becoming more conscious of the soul that we are. So here's a couple of ways to do that. One, I love this. So we are actually choosing to do every single thing that we're doing in our life. So he says in The Way of Mastery, go ahead and write down, and I've also heard Louise Hay say this, so it's good when you get those resonances and you're like, okay, like coming from different sources but also coming from the one source. So write down the words need to, ought to, and should, and I think maybe there was one other, but anything that is giving you this idea that there is something outside of you that's acting upon you, that's forcing you to do something, that you're doing anything against your will, basically, because you need to, should, or have to, or ought to. And he says, so go ahead and write those down on a piece of paper and just burn it. Because these concepts are so misleading. They give us the idea that there are forces outside ourselves that can make us, outside of our own will, that can make us do anything. And so it's really just the intention and energy of this that's wrong, right? And according to Gary Zukav's book, intention is essentially, it's the intention behind an act that is the real energy that we're sending into the world. And this world of energy, this quantum world, is just as real, if not more real, than this world of physicality. It's the world of cause, and the world of physicality is the world of effect. So it's not what you do in the world that's so important as the energy or intention that you're bringing to it. That's what actually affects your karma, and that's what actually affects the results that come about. So when you're doing something with this feeling of, I have to do this, or I should do this, what kind of intention are you bringing to that? No matter how good it looks, what you're doing in the outside world, that's the energy you're bringing to it. So eventually the real effect of that, even if it can't be seen with the 5 physical senses at first, is going to be according to the intention that you brought. So it's this ill-placed intention that we bring when we think that we have to or we should do anything. That's not true. You're choosing to do every single thing that you do during the day. And you might as well, so having that intention and that realization is just empowerment, right? And so it changes the intention that you bring to it, and it stops making you feel forced into anything. And he takes it some steps further in the Way of Mastery. He says, who told you you had to do anything? I mean, just the outside world, right? But it's just this play, really, that your soul is putting on for your own soul's growth through this outer world, and using your personality as that vehicle to experience this. So he goes as far as for saying, like, who told you that you even have to survive in this physical body? You don't. Like, you don't have to do any, you need do nothing. You don't have to get out of bed. You don't have to pay your bills. Because here, I mean, there's a couple of things about that. One, you're not your body. So no matter what happens to your body, nothing can happen to your soul. So you need do nothing. But the other amazing part of that is, I think that when we actually realize that, when we surrender to that, I need do nothing, we find that we actually are taken care of in every moment. And if you pay close attention to your life, you find out that whatever the ego thought would happen when you didn't do something that you had to or should do, and say you didn't do it for whatever reason, and whatever the result was ends up being quite different than what your ego told you it was going to be. But for me, this is more important more than anything, just because keeping that power and that good intention of, this is my choice. I'm choosing to do this. I want to do this. If I am doing this, it is because I want to do this. And I'm so thankful for this beautiful desire that I am here to fulfill in this physical world. But so the mantra is saying, and just remembering, I need do nothing. I need do nothing. And just taking away that ill intention and just constricted, terrible energy of like, I need to do this. I have to do this. And it's so stressful, and it's so not true. You're never doing anything because you need to or you have to. Again, nothing can touch the eternal being that you are in this world. Everything that you're doing here, if you get profound and down to it, is because you desire to. It's because you want to. You're never doing anything that you don't desire to do. So why not take that ownership and that joy of that? And then the other mantra to come to a couple times a day that I really love, that I've been thinking of a lot, is I created this and it is good. So looking around at any given time at your circumstances and saying, I made this. Because every single outer circumstance that you are encountering in your awareness in your outside world is an effect of a cause that at some point, and it may not have been in this life, but that at some point you brought to yourself, your soul brought to yourself for your soul purpose, for your growth, for you to be love just a little bit more, for you to learn to love and learn to accept every single aspect of every single outer circumstance that you're experiencing. So why not look around and acknowledge, I made this and it is good? Because it is good eventually. Even no matter how heinous or terrible, and again, when we react with that, so if we want to clean up and go beyond our karma, our path to that is to remain neutral, or eventually to feel joy for everything that we see. If we react negatively to anything, everything has been sent to us for us to accept with love and goodness and see the truth of it, which is that it is good. For God created everything and saw that it was good. Only goodness and love actually exist. Everything else is illusion that we've put on top of that. And that truth sounds really crazy when you're just seeing with the five senses to the outside world. But when you start to go within and you start to become what Gary Zukav calls a multisensory human, you start to realize the truth of that and to experience that and to become neutral. And again, so looking around and, you know, obviously you're going to find it easier during times where there's good stuff going on, seemingly, right, to the ego's judgment. But we'll get into judgment in another video. It's not our place. But just acknowledging that at every given point in time. And this is to come back. This is all to bring you back to what your soul is trying to bring you to, which is soul consciousness. Consciousness that you are limitless divine energy, not the limitations that you've chosen to take on to get back to teaching you of your true being. So looking around you, and even if you don't believe it yet, like just try it on with both of those. Just try it on and see how that just shifts your perspective, because really it just brings you back to the present moment and to consciousness. And eventually we will all wake up and fully realize this is true. I made this. I made this. And it is good. It is good. Even if it doesn't seem to be by my ego's judgment right now, because it is bringing me back to the knowledge of who I am. One with my creator, one with source, one with love, pure love. I am the light of love that is giving life to me. And I am the one who loved all these ideas so much that I made them manifest. So I created this and it is good. It is good. And then the other one, I need do nothing. I need do nothing. And just coming back to that too, I need do nothing. Maybe in that moment of realizing I need do nothing, you realize what it is that you actually desire to do. And when you come back to that desire, and the more in touch you're getting with realizing that you've created your whole world, then I think the more and more you desire to do good and to make the world better. And maybe it becomes clear how you can do that. And in the end, it's all going to be through service, but wanting to do it, acknowledging that you desire this, not that anyone told you had to or you should, or any of that intention of obligation. So on that note, I'd love to hear from you guys. If you comment on anything that you'd like to hear talked about, or if you're struggling with anything, I'd love to be able to try and shed some light on how I would interpret that based on my own spiritual experience and based on all the wonderful masters and teachers who I'm always reading and listening to. So much love to you here on this Tuesday from Guatemala, and the light that is in me is the same as the light that is in you, and from soul to soul, I see you as who you truly are, and you are truly limitless, and truly capable of creating divinely, just as your Creator divinely created you.